I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the City of Urbana Community Development Commission regular meeting. Could we have the roll call?
Chairperson Fred Cobb. Commissioner Michael Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Chris Diana.
Here.
Commissioner Reverend Robert Freeman.
Here.
Commissioner Ann Hines Silvis.
Here.
Commissioner Karen Hodgen Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Jerry Moreland. Commissioner Abdul Hakim Salam.
Here.
Commissioner James Winston. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Kelly. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. That would be January 24th, and you have a copy of those. Does anybody need time to review the minutes, or can we entertain a motion for approval? Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second for approval of the minutes from Tuesday, January 24th. Any discussion? Corrections? All in favor of approving as the minutes are written, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries and the minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda are petitions and communications. Was anything brought
No.
to the... Okay, thanks, Kelly. And then, moving on in the agenda, audience participation. We have a couple people in the audience, and I'd like to invite your participation now, or if you want to wait till your item comes up on the agenda. No? Okay. No, it's nice to have you here. Thank you. Staff report.
Okay, you have a copy of the staff briefing that was in your packet, and I'll just highlight some of the items. We actually did not receive any letters from HUD, just emails and notices and information, stuff like that, but no hard copies of any letters. We've been working on the annual action plan, coordinating with the regional collaboration for the assessment of fair housing, which is now an analysis of impediments to fair housing because HUD has pushed back on the assessment, so it won't be due until 2025. So we also were completing paperwork for a neighborhood cleanup, which will be in May. With that, working on the newsletter, looking at budgets because we're getting ready into the budget cycle with the city. So looking at all of our budgets and making projections and those things. Also, you can see staff managing the CDBG and city-funded portions of the Consolidated Social Fund, which those applications will be coming out next month. We need to make a meeting with Danielle with Cunningham Township to finalize everything before we release the application. Also working with Champaign with Bristol Park redevelopment. We've been having bi-weekly calls, meeting with the developer. Since we're the lead entity for the home program, we are involved in this redevelopment. Also working with TWG Development at Aspen Court. They are looking to all their financials and seeing about if they're going to apply for any home funding or not, when we're waiting to hear back from them. So you can see the other grants are working. Randy has listed his rehab projects on how many emergency grants and access grants and senior repair projects that he's done. The Blight Reduction Program, we submitted some reporting this week, and 16 total projects were completed. Some are still pending closeout review by the legal department at IDA. Processing invoices and Then, of course, attending regular meetings of our Continuum of Care, Housing Authority, Senior Task Force, et cetera. I was in Chicago last week for a 2-day training, the Illinois Governor's Conference on Affordable Housing. And there was a lot of good topics. And IDA, at one point, talked about all their programs. And I was not in their workshop, but Sheila Dodd with Habitat was in the workshop. And IDA talked about how Urbana and Habitat have had a really good collaboration and even read parts of our application. So, yeah, Sheila called to tell me, I just want to let you know. So, yeah. In fact, IDA is reviewing round 3 of the abandoned property program. So we hope that we'll be getting funding. We should hear within the next few weeks. And then we also found out from IDA, the Village of Rantoul, along with Urbana-Champaign, the county, applied to IDA for a land bank, technical assistance, capital, it was land bank, what was it called? The land bank, LBPC, and that was the initials. And it was to look at doing a feasibility study. So we're going to get funding to do a feasibility study to see if that is something that is worthwhile for all of us to do. So that was exciting. We just got that announcement. And with that, that's our staff report.
Well, congratulations, Kelly. You should have been in the room when they were praising you about that.
I know, I went to other ones, and I didn't even, I mean, I thought it was just all about the programs and the mortgages and all the programs they have. I didn't realize that they were gonna, give kudos to us. So, but Sheila was there,
That's
so
good.
at least our partner was there and called, just wanted to let you, yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good about our application for the abandoned property program.
Well, that's been a long and fruitful partnership with Habitat.
It has, yes.
It really has been good for the city
Mhm.
and for Habitat and for all the families.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on the staff report before we move on?
Just one, Kelly.
Yes.
You say you're reviewing, updating policies and procedures. You're looking
Just
at
internal
stuff.
with our CDBG
Okay.
and our environmental review, just looking at
Okay.
those. and making
Nothing
sure.
that we need to be aware of.
No,
or anything?
very
Sounds good.
internal, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the staff report? So let's move on to old business. Is there any old business that needs to come before the commission?
No.
No? Okay. New business. We have 2 items under new business, and one is the CDBG priority discussion, and this is the discussion and priority setting that we do every year. Kelly, you have a memo on this, but do you
Yes.
want to just summarize the
Sure.
intent and purpose of the process of setting the priorities and how those are used?
Sure, I can do that. Well, as you see in the memo, as an advisory capacity to the Urbana City Council, one of the responsibilities for the commission is to determine what priorities for our community development block portion of the total consolidated social service funding pool that we put our funds into. Even though it's a small amount, it still assists, and it's overall part of the city. And then once the council determines who gets funded, then we make sure that agencies that are funded, that they will get our portion of our funding so that it aligns with the priorities. And it's part of our public service funds. And so, as you can see, the background of the memo, this Consolidated Social Service funding is started back in 1996, and that every entity had different applications and different grant years and cycles, and so it was all consolidated into one grant application that we administer for the city. And last year, it was $250,000. We put in $5,000. The city general fund was $70,000, and the balance of that was Cunningham Township. And at this time, it's unknown exactly how much the city and Cunningham Township will be putting in, but we're putting in our $5,000. So, so yes, when the application comes out, we will have a training with the social service agencies on the application and the requirements and expectations. Danielle Chenoweth, the Cunningham Town Supervisor, she'll be involved in that as well. And then at some point, council will, if they want to have any agencies come and make a presentation, we can schedule that with the agency for council to ask questions. So these priorities come from our consolidated plan, our 5-year plan, which we're at now in the 2015 to 2019. And in the memo, it shows what the different options are, the specific goals, and then the priority needs. So listing decent affordable housing, addressing barriers to preserving consortium neighborhoods, support infrastructure, and then the different priority needs of affordable housing, homeless prevention and service, non-homeless special needs, and then community development needs. And I also list in this memo all of the different goals and how they are addressed with our other goals and programs, and leaving a couple of them, which is what we recommend for listing as a priority. So the goal and priority of supporting services and training for low-income persons is not really covered by any other grants, and so that's one that we recommend as a priority. And then also goal and priority needed supporting homeless needs, and it's covered by CDBG and the Emergency Solutions Grant, but with cuts to those programs, that has reduced the number that can be served, and that's why the other one that we recommend as a priority. So with that, we recommend that the following options be chosen: the supporting services and training for low-income persons and support homeless needs. And that gives also a larger range of funding possibilities from all the agencies that apply. And will also address needs that are not addressed in other programs. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
So is there discussion or comments on what our options are and what we might choose among those priorities?
Well, actually, it has our recommendation, but I mean, you can certainly look on page 2 of the memo. It lists all the goals and the priority needs onto page 3, and then it shows all the different programs that address those needs that we feel that they address. So you can certainly go through. We can go through these and discuss them, discuss the needs, however you want to do that. Or, like I said, we recommend those priorities, but.
So are there questions among commissioners about what any of these might mean to the funding priorities or discussion?
And if you need any more clarification regarding like the consolidated plan, or which is also the annual action plan, those things, I can certainly go over those as well if there's any questions about all that.
I just have a couple questions. One is the 5-year plan. Excuse my ignorance, but can I get a simple overview of where the plan was headed?
Sure. Well, it's a requirement by HUD that we do this 5-year plan every 5 years. And what we do is the year before it's to be implemented, we have public hearings
Right.
throughout the community. We go to different meetings, we gather input, we talk to social service agencies, neighborhoods, what do they see are needs in the community? And that's what's listed in the consolidated plan is, what are the needs that we see are in the community? And then the annual action plan will talk about the programs that we set up and the funding to address those needs.
Yeah, my follow-up question would be, how are these goals in alignment with the 5-year plan?
They come right out of,
They came
come-
right
mhm.
out of the,
yes, if you look at the attached to the memo,
yes,
it says goals, strategies, and activities to address local funding priorities and community need. These
Yes.
come right out of
Came
the
right
cons-
out of that action
of the
plan.
consolidated
Okay.
plan, yes. They have the goals, strategies, and then the activities that will be used to address those goals.
So then you haven't necessarily changed the goals, you're just reiterating what's already been approved for the 5-year and then?
Yes,
Okay.
because we're tying our public service funds, community development block grant, which is also under the consolidated plan, our home, our CDBG. We state, we get these funds, and these are the needs and the priorities in the community, and we're going to use our funds with these different programs to address those.
If approved today and situations change or a crisis comes up that our city need to address, can we modify these goals?
Well, the goals are part of our consolidated plan.
know, that's
So we would have to amend our consolidated plan.
Plan,
And that's a
action.
process. That's having a public hearing,
That's right.
having a 30-day public comment period.
Okay,
And we actually we're looking to see if we may need to amend our our consolidated plan. And our citizen participation, we need to update as well. So that may be coming, but, and you have to show, we would have to show why we were changing,
yes.
what we would need to do. And we're actually, we're in the, third or fourth
Mm-hmm.
year of our consolidated plan, so we'll be starting that
Next year.
process with public hearings. We'll have them here, we'll have them in the neighborhoods, we'll have them at different agencies, different meetings, to gather input.
And that would
So,
start in 2022, the next 5 years.
No, it would start 2020.
2020.
Yes, so it'd be 2020 to 2024.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
In the past, Kelly, as I recall, one of the things that we tried to do when we looked at these priorities, and this gets to some of your questions, is to make them broad enough that when something specific comes in, it would be covered by something that we said was important. So they're not so specific that we would be excluding good projects. So that may get to some of the concerns you had about how much flexibility there is in adhering to a plan that we set out and also adjusting to the needs that occur after that plan has been developed. So addressing needs of homeless, et cetera, I think that's always going to be an issue that we care about and want to use these funds to address.
That's exactly where I was going. Are we so locked in that is the verbiage so that we can't manipulate?
Yeah.
We can't work within? But you're saying that that's pretty well, okay.
Just to add to that, for those, since there are a number of commissioners who this may be the first time through or whatever for this process, as Ann will remember, there were years where we gnawed on this for meetings, whole meetings, long meetings, and without coming to much conclusion, actually. I think where we ended up, especially last year, And one of the reasons we ended up with these these type of things are that the wording is broad enough that it opens the doors for almost anything. Because if you look at number 1 there, support services is about as broad a term as you can get for low-income persons. And number 2 is even broader, saying support homeless needs. So it's a really broad brush that those are painted with, which gives us a lot of flexibility, which is probably the best way to go with it, yeah.
Ann and Chris answered my question. When you said training for low-income persons, I wonder what kind of training was that?
Well, if you see in the memo last year, the training, I believe it was the Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center. They have a Urbana Youth and Development Center for training and job training and toward education and college. So we thought that that would be a good fit for that priority. And then, of course, Courage Connection with the supporting homeless needs. So.
So if I could follow up on that, when it is determined that that is a good fit, then they receive funds, they
Yes.
receive city support? I mean,
Mhm.
what is the range of support and encouragement?
Council's the one who makes the final determination on how much agencies get. But what we try to do is, since it's a small portion, if, again, say these 2 agencies get funded, we would look at the overall amount that council would give, and then we would supplement the 5,000, split it, kind of in half maybe, and add it to city general fund or, something like that, so. And even though it's a small amount, there's still all the requirements for the CDBG that they need to do. So also looking at making sure that it's an agency who has a lot of experience, since there are a lot of requirements with the grant.
I have a question for Kelly. Under specific goals, number 9, it lists preserve consortium neighborhoods. Is there a list?
Do you want to come up and introduce yourself and use the microphone so that we can get it on the, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy Overman. I work with a volunteer group called Real Life Singles in Urbana. And I have a question for Kelly. Specific goal number 9 says preserve consortium neighborhoods. Is there a list somewhere that lists which neighborhoods are on that?
Well, I'm looking at the goal listed in our consolidated plan, and it says preserve and support Urbana's neighborhoods. So it would be, in Urbana, it would be our target areas. In fact, the map that we had last meeting that was approved, it would be those areas in the city, which is north side, part of the east, and then I believe in the south, south of Colorado. Do you have it on the city website? I think it's on the city website, at least under the memo last month, either in Community Development Commission or on City Council. It should be attached, and we will put it in a separate place under grants management on the city website.
Okay.
Kelly, are those targeted neighborhoods ones that are designated by census to be low income?
Yes, at least 51% have to be low and moderate income in order for it to be eligible for community development block grant funds.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head, do any of those neighborhoods include the Silver and Botter Street area?
Yes, one of them does. There's an area, it's bounded by Colorado on the north, Mumford on the south, and Philo on the east, and I think maybe Vine on the west. It's census tract 57.01, block group, I think 4. So that's, I only know because I was looking at that today. But that's, I think off the top of my head, I think that's an area that is included and newly added to our target area as well.
Yeah, we had like 3,
It's either Vine or Race. I'm not exactly sure.
maybe Anderson.
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
I think it's past Anderson, so I think it was Vine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like 3 new census tract areas that were included, and then one that was removed because of being way under the 51%. It was like 37% low and mod income, so. But yeah, it should be, definitely it's on the city website, attached to the city council memo, or last month's Community Development Commission, and we will make sure that it gets on the city website separately, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Is there other discussion about how to set these priorities? Staff has made a recommendation in their last paragraph. Do we want to go with staff recommendation, or do we want to suggest a different set of priorities?
I would move that we go with the staff recommendations for the 2 priorities for the CDBG funding involved here.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion? And that would be to follow the recommendations of the staff, with the number 1 being support services and training for low-income persons and support homeless needs as the priorities. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you.
Isak Griffiths with Courage Connection is here, and I've invited her to come up if she wants to speak about this, or...
Just briefly. Isak Griffiths, Executive Director of Courage Connection here in Urbana as well as in Champaign. And I was going to jump up a minute ago, but I didn't want to interrupt the process. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Kelly and Matt in particular have done in terms of really evaluating the needs of the community and some of the possible solutions. And speaking from one of the member communities that works a lot with them, we really do feel that the priorities and the strategies represent really good opportunities and possibilities, and that it's not limiting in terms of what's possible in our community, because it's going to be a work in progress. And so I was going to encourage that this be accepted, so thank you so much, and I just wanted to acknowledge the work that they do and say thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes we need it.
You need a little positive
So where's
feedback.
the Starbucks cards at? Amy?
The next item on our agenda is also under new business, and that is the transfer of 909 Harvey to Habitat, which seems fitting after our previous discussion. So is there background information that you want to share with us regarding that real
So,
estate?
I'll have Matt. Randy did the memo, but he wasn't able to come tonight, so Matt is going to be sharing with you.
So the ordinance it's pretty self-explanatory. 909 Harvey is right now a vacant grass-covered lot in North Urbana. Really, this is the last step in our acquisition, demolition, disposition program, and that's spelled out in our housing program manual, which was approved along with the consolidated plan. In 2010, 909 Harvey, the property was acquired by the city through the Community Development Block Program. It was then demolished. It had a vacant blighted structure on it. And really, the city's held on to the property, the grass-covered lot, since that time, waiting for a community development housing organization, Achoto, with interest to take the property. Now, Sheila Dodd at Habitat for Humanity has indicated her willingness to accept the property and include it in her portfolio. And then if a family, if one of her approved families would like to choose that property to construct a house on, they would then be able to do that. So really, we see this as a win-win for both Habitat and the city. It's one fewer lot that we have to take care of and maintain and mow, and it's another lot that Habitat can use for their purposes and furthering the availability of affordable homeownership opportunities in the city. As you might notice, the attachments with the memorandum, there are several of them. Each of these are legal documents that we're required to have when we convey property. The options for the commission here are the usual ones: forwarding for approval with changes, or not recommending approval. In terms of fiscal impacts, it's exactly as I mentioned. We like to think of this as, a way to help to build tax revenue by promoting homeownership in the city while also decreasing our liabilities. In terms of programmatic impacts, it's definitely one of the key aspects in our consolidated plan, annual action plans, all our guiding documents that we use on a regular basis. So with that in mind, staff recommends approval of the ordinance as written, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
This is my ignorance. One question: you have a warranty deed, then a quitclaim deed. Is that required or somewhere?
Yes, the warranty deed would be signed by the new owner after they take ownership of the property. The quitclaim deed would be held if the new owner does not construct affordable housing on the property for X number of years or months. We could then, if we choose to exercise that right, we could take the property back and transfer it to someone else if another another owner would want to take ownership of it and develop affordable housing.
And the contract specifies that as March 30th, 2021, or as of the date established in any modification to this contract.
That's right.
So they've got some time.
Yep.
Are there other questions for Matt before we create a motion? Someone want to create a motion?
I move that we forward the ordinance authorizing the sale of this property onto the Urbana City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion?
If I might, I would just like to add that that was a long time coming with that lot. That's great to see, because that was a long time ago, and that was a hard acquisition to do at the time, and a really badly blighted property sitting right next to the school there. So sometimes it may take a decade or so, but it's nice to see that come to a good end there.
Yeah, it's been long enough that it's a beautiful grassy lot on Google Street View. So.
Any further discussion, or are we ready to vote on the motion? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. So we don't have any topics for a study session, so that concludes our agenda, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.